DC is dead, man. Okay, so DC is not dead. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But this video is about one of DC's more obscure characters who is certainly dead. The supernatural world of DC is one of the more interesting and diverse aspects of the comics catalog, from favorites like the infamous John Constantine or the cosmic powered Spectre, and even Justice League's own regular magic user, Zatanna. DC has a crazy amount of supernaturally empowered heroes and villains, all of which I plan to cover at some point, but the focus for this video will be the ghostly Deadman. Deadman is one of my favorite characters in DC, mainly for his connections to the paranormal. He's literally a superhero ghost, which, as odd as it sounds, it works perfectly. First debuting in Strange Adventures number 205 in October of 1967, he's been featured in a lot of stories connected to the Justice League Dark, several Batman related appearances in media, and even some of his own comic miniseries. The story of Deadman, as with any ghost story, started before his death. Boston Brand was brought up in an angry and abusive household, leading him to run away at a young age. Like many stories of runaways, he went to the circus. During his time at the circus, he was trained as an acrobat and aerialist, eventually becoming a top performer in the circus under the moniker Deadman. Deadman was not the kindest person around, partly due to his success and his upbringing. He had violent and hedonistic tendencies that led him to not being well liked. At one point, an assassin murders him, and it seemed like that was it for Boston Brand. But his spirit was transported to the place between life and death by the Hindu goddess Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna transformed Boston Brand's spirit, empowering him with unique abilities and an effort to allow Brand to atone for his sins. Brand returned to Earth, now using the name Deadman, beginning his heroic journey. But so what? Why should you care? Well, it's this unique situation that really drives writers to use his character in different ways. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he sounds like a run-of-the-mill ghost. But remember when I said Rama transformed his spirit? Well, in doing so, she gave him some powers that proved super useful. Stuff like flight, invisibility, communicating with the dead, and even being able to travel across dimensional boundaries. Oh wait, let me not forget the possession of people's bodies. I know, he's a ghost, so obviously he's going to be able to possess people. But let's be real, how many characters, let alone superheroes, are dead and their primary power is possessing people? This makes for a ton of different storytelling ideas, because you can't just go and punch somebody or pick up a gun and a sword and attack someone. So writers are forced to create stories where Deadman has to resolve these situations that's out of the norm for comic book characters. That being said, there's far more to Boston Brand than just possession. In fact, pre-Flashpoint, Boston Brand was a little different and far more tragic. But before I get into that, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, hit that like button and subscribe for more DC videos. Flashpoint, like many other big crisis storylines that DC released, was an attempt to reboot the DC universe to reorganize their large roster of heroes, and in doing so, change some parts of their origins to better fit the next few years of storytelling. In the case of Flashpoint, DC took the most radical departure to date in order to modernize these heroes and their stories. For Deadman, before Flashpoint, there was more of a focus on the search for his killer that ran across several different comics. In this case, the killer was found to be a character named Hook, who killed Brand in an attempt to impress the League of Assassins. This backfired for him though, as the League's leader assumed that it was a failed assassination attempt due to the fact that Brand's twin brother took over for him at the circus. And due to this, they killed Hook, but Brand found no peace and continued to use his powers to help others and atone for his sins. One of the other aspects that I enjoyed about this character, but is really tragic, is that this version of Deadman was invisible to everyone who didn't have a predisposition to magic and the supernatural. This prevented him from making his presence known without possessing people. I can't imagine how lonely it must be there in the world, knowing that for the most part, no matter how many people are around you, no one will notice you. Despite this, there are some characters who were able to see him, most notably magic users like Zatanna and Constantine. Speaking of Constantine, the relationship between him and Brand is pretty crappy at times due to how John tends to handle situations. During their time on Justice League Dark, they worked on resolving many issues dealing with the occult, including a situation where Deadman wanted to help June Moore, who was being used by the Enchantress. This was all for naught as Constantine forcibly reunited June and Enchantress, angering Deadman. Another situation had John lock Deadman inside the Earth-3 Sea King. Suffice to say, they were not the best of friends, but they worked alongside one another for the greater good. If you want to read up more on Deadman, check out the following. The Forever People, issues number 9 to 10, where Deadman gets some help from the Forever People in his quest to find Hook. Deadman, Dead Again, issues number 1 to 5. Set during the Crisis on Infinite Earths event, this series finds Deadman trying to stop the sorcerer Darius Caldera, who is attempting to find the heroic souls for the demon Neron. Brightest Days, issues number 1 to 24. A White Lantern ring is given to Brand, allowing him to come back to life in order to protect Star City Forest from the dark avatar of Neron. This series ends with his death, leading him back to his ghostly existence. Overall, in terms of storytelling and creativity, I think Deadman is solid and is a must read and watch for any DC fan. Let me know what you guys think of Deadman in the comments below. Stay tuned for more DC videos. But as always, take care and have an awesome day. Hold up. Check this playlist out to find more about the supernatural world of DC Comics.
Trick or treat, freak!